Hey kids, this is Ivan again. How you doing? I'd like to talk to you now about the concept of balanced encounters. Now, a lot of the more modern games of D&D and other games have a concept of balanced encounters where the players are supposed to encounter monsters or threats or whatever that are, commensurate with their experience and power level. And I understand the reason for this, but it's something that I don't particularly like or use in my game. Now, this isn't to say that I'm always just going to thrust adventurers into something that they just can't handle. A lot of times, like if I send them off on a particular adventure, say somebody hires them or something, I'm going to send them to some place where they have a good chance of success and not just getting their butts kicked. Now, this could be because the person that's actually hired them can kind of size them up. I have one guy in my in the town that my adventurers are operating out of that's kind of been following the party with interest, sort of like Emperor Palpatine and Luke and Anakin Skywalker, that sort of thing. So he kind of knows what their level is and how much power they have. But I put things in my campaign where they make sense. If it makes sense to have a troll in a certain location, that's where the troll lives. And it doesn't matter if the adventurers are first level or 21st level. This is the troll's lair. If there's a dragon living out in the mountains, this old red dragon, that's where he lives. And he lives there because it makes sense. Maybe they'll have to pass close to his area, and maybe they'll encounter him, maybe they won't. And of course, this is the reason that you have feet. Sometimes you need to strap on your Nikes and just beat hoof out of there. And running is one of the things that I've done a lot as an adventurer, and I expect my players to do. I expect them to be able to size up things sometimes and say, "Heck, this is not for us. Let's split." And likewise, sometimes they're just going to encounter some things where they can just, knock it out with no problem. They're a bunch of 6th-level adventurers and they encounter like an orc raiding party. Oh wow, this isn't going to be that hard. You're not going to get much experience or treasure out of it. But these orcs are there because it makes sense for them to be there. And that's part of a sandbox campaign. And just, even beyond a sandbox campaign, it's part of just what makes sense for the world. I'm not going to place things where they don't make sense just because that's where I think the party's going, or because, in this little radius of the world where the party's operating out of right now, things should all be at their power level so they have a good chance of success in terms of, defeating if they choose to go for combat. Because, of course, you have a lot of options as a player. You can sneak around and get away from the area. You can run if the monster notices you. You can bail and make a fighting retreat. Even in a dungeon, you can get to a point where you realize, oh man, this is too much for us. We burned too many hit points. We burned our resources. It's time to turn tail and flee, or like find an empty room and spike the door shut, or whatever it is, and just get the heck out of there. And of course, I'm going to give players a lot of hints. There's going to be some hints, like if I've given you tons of hints from various townspeople, and people that are supplying them with information, or just signs in the woods, and the player should instead decide to go into the Valley of the Beholder and the four-armed fire-breathing trolls. Oh well, it's not my problem. You're playing stupid, so you might get your butts kicked. So I'll make it pretty evident if they're getting over their heads. I'm not going to give them some divine intervention type thing, unless that's what it's called for. But there's going to be signs and hints that maybe this is some place that you shouldn't be. So, as far as balanced encounters go, I personally don't buy it, and I don't play my games by it. I'm not out to kill the players or make things not fun. But I put, monsters and creatures and, other adventuring parties and high-level, PCs or NPCs in towns and cities where they make sense, not just where it would be a balanced encounter. So, yeah, sometimes you're gonna come across something you can handle. Sometimes you're gonna come across the lair of the Cyclops, and you need to split. And that's just smart adventuring.